The kiss lasted 5 seconds. 5 seconds that silenced the VIP section, froze the tattooed hand reaching for whiskey, and turned a reckless bet into something Rose Farrell couldn't take back. She felt it immediately, the air sharpening, the music dimming, the weight of eyes locked onto her back. Her lips had barely brushed his before she pulled away, already grinning, already ready to spin on her heel and claim victory. But the man didn't smile, didn't blink, didn't move. He sat there, broad shoulders filling a navy suit that probably cost more than her rent. Tattooed hands resting on the table, intricate ink crawling up from his collar. His dark hair was slicked back perfectly. His jaw could cut glass. Everything about him screamed control, the dangerous kind. Rose's grin faltered. "Sorry," she said quickly, voice lighter than she felt. "Lost a bet." His eyes lifted to her face, dark, cold, assessing. They didn't wander, they locked onto her like she was a problem he was deciding how to solve. "You kiss strangers on dares," he said. His voice was smooth, low, with an accent that made every word feel deliberate. It wasn't a question. Rose swallowed. The men flanking him, 3 of them, all dangerous, watched her without expression. She lifted her chin. Just the hot ones. The nightclub pulsed around them. Bass thumped. Someone shrieked with laughter. Champagne bottles popped. None of it touched the bubble of tension between them. He leaned forward slowly, placing one tattooed hand on the leather booth beside her hip, not touching her, just close enough that she felt trapped by his presence alone. "You shouldn't do what your friends tell you," he said, calmly. Rose's heart hammered. "I wanted to." That earned her something new, not a smile, interest. His eyes narrowed slightly, and for a second she saw something flicker beneath the ice. Curiosity, maybe. Attraction. Definitely danger. He leaned back, giving her space as if he'd never invaded it. "Be more careful next time, Bellissima," he said. That was all. Rose turned and walked away, forcing her legs steady, her breathing even, but her heart raced like she'd just escaped something lethal. Behind her, Gerardino Palerma watched her go, and he didn't look away. 2 hours earlier, the night had felt like freedom. Obsidian nightclub was packed, bodies moving under strobe lights, champagne flowing, the bass so heavy Rose felt it in her chest. She leaned against the velvet booth, her white dress catching neon glow, blonde hair swept up elegantly, perfect armor for girls' night. "To Sienna," Luna Voss shouted, raising her glass. "May your marriage be full of passion and 0 boring dinners." They laughed and drank. Rose's glass was already half empty. She hadn't meant to drink this much, but it had been one of those weeks. Deadlines, demanding clients, inbox chaos. Tonight was about forgetting. Sienna Stasiano leaned closer, dark eyes sparkling. "Truth or dare?" Rose groaned. "No, absolutely not." "Dare," Luna said immediately, grinning. "You always pick dare." Rose laughed, despite herself. "Fine, dare." Sienna's smile turned wicked. "Kiss the hottest guy in this club." Rose's stomach flipped. "That's it?" Luna pointed towards the VIP section, elevated, roped off, guarded. "Him." Rose followed her gaze. The man sat in the center of a curved leather booth, surrounded by 3 others who looked carved from stone. But he was different, still, commanding. He wasn't on his phone or scanning the crowd. He simply existed, one arm draped across the booth, the other near a whiskey glass. His suit was immaculate, his posture perfect. Tattoos snaked up from his collar and covered his hands. His dark hair was slicked back perfectly. His jaw could cut glass. Everything about him screamed control, the dangerous kind. Rose's grin faltered. "Sorry," she said quickly, voice lighter than she felt. "Lost a bet." His eyes lifted to her face, dark, cold, assessing. They didn't wander, they locked onto her like she was a problem he was deciding how to solve. "You kiss strangers on dares," he said. His voice was smooth, low, with an accent that made every word feel deliberate. It wasn't a question. Rose swallowed. The men flanking him, 3 of them, all dangerous, watched her without expression. She lifted her chin. Just the hot ones. The nightclub pulsed around them. Bass thumped. Someone shrieked with laughter. Champagne bottles popped. None of it touched the bubble of tension between them. He leaned forward slowly, placing one tattooed hand on the leather booth beside her hip, not touching her, just close enough that she felt trapped by his presence alone. "You shouldn't do what your friends tell you," he said, calmly. Rose's heart hammered. "I wanted to." That earned her something new, not a smile, interest. His eyes narrowed slightly, and for a second she saw something flicker beneath the ice. Curiosity, maybe. Attraction. Definitely danger. He leaned back, giving her space as if he'd never invaded it. "Be more careful next time, Bellissima," he said. That was all. Rose turned and walked away, forcing her legs steady, her breathing even, but her heart raced like she'd just escaped something lethal. Behind her, Gerardino Palerma watched her go, and he didn't look away. Rose woke to sunlight stabbing through her curtains and a headache that felt personal. She groaned, pressing her face into the pillow, trying to piece together the night before through the champagne haze. The club, the bet, the kiss. Oh God, the kiss. She sat up too fast, immediately regretting it. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. 17 messages in the group chat. She grabbed it with shaking hands. "Sienna, you absolute legend." "Luna, I can't believe you actually did it." "Sienna," photo attached. Rose's stomach dropped. The photo showed her in the VIP section, leaning toward him, but that wasn't what made her pulse spike. In the background, partially obscured by shadow, were his men, all 3 of them watching her with the kind of focus that made her skin prickle. "Luna, they were staring at you all night. Like, not normal staring." "Sienna, I tried to find them online, but there's barely anything." "Sienna, Rose, who did you kiss?" Rose's hands trembled as she opened her laptop. She typed his name into the search bar, though she wasn't even sure how she knew it. Someone at the club must have said it. Gerardino Palerma. The results were sparse. A few society page photos, charity galas, high-end restaurants, always in the background, never the focus. One article called him a prominent businessman with interests in import-export. Another mentioned his family's long-standing influence in the city. Nothing concrete, nothing specific, everything vague in a way that felt intentional. Rose clicked on images. There he was, same sharp jaw, same controlled posture, same dark eyes that seemed to see through cameras. In every photo, men flanked him. In every photo, he looked like he owned whatever room he stood in. Her chest tightened. A knock at her door made her jump so hard she almost dropped her laptop. She wasn't expecting anyone. Sienna and Luna both had keys. Her neighbor never knocked, just texted passive-aggressive complaints about noise. Rose grabbed her robe, tying it tight as she padded to the door. She checked the peephole. Her heart stopped. Gerardino Palerma stood in her hallway, holding 2 coffee cups and a bag that smelled like fresh croissants. He wore a black sweater and dark jeans, casual, but the kind of casual that still cost thousands. His hair was slightly less perfect than last night. Somehow, that made him more dangerous. Rose's brain screamed at her not to open the door. She opened it anyway. "How did you find my address?" she asked, voice sharper than intended. "Good morning to you too," he said calmly, extending 1 coffee cup. "Oat milk, light ice. You posted about it last week." Rose stared at him. "You went through my Instagram?" "Thoroughly." His eyes were steady, assessing, not apologetic. "You kissed me in front of my men. That's not something people do and walk away from." "Watch me," Rose said, moving to close the door. His hand caught it, not forcefully, just firmly. Rose Farrow, 26, fashion blogger, lives alone, grew up in Connecticut, moved here 3 years ago. Coffee at Bluebird every Tuesday and Thursday, yoga on Saturdays. Rose's blood went cold. Are you threatening me? I'm being clear, Gerardino said, voice dropping lower. You walked into my world last night. People noticed. That means I need to know you're not a threat, and you need to understand what you stepped into. I'm not in anything, Rose snapped. It was a stupid dare. Maybe, but now I'm interested, and I don't ignore things that interest me. Rose's heart hammered. She should slam the door, call the cops, block him everywhere. Instead, she heard herself ask, "What do you want?" Gerardino's eyes softened just slightly. "Dinner, tonight. I'll answer your questions, you answer mine, then we decide if this is a problem or something else. And if I say no, then I leave," he said simply, "but you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what I was going to say." Silence stretched between them. Rose knew this was insane, dangerous, everything her rational brain screamed against. 7 o'clock, she said quietly, "and I'm picking the restaurant." Gerardino's mouth curved, not quite a smile, but close. "I'll send a car." "I'll meet you there," Rose counted. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. Smart. He set the coffee and croissants on her doorframe. "Eat, you'll need your strength." Then he turned and walked away, leaving Rose standing in her doorway, holding expensive coffee, wondering what the hell she just agreed to.
Rose had said she'd meet him at the restaurant. That plan lasted exactly until a black Mercedes pulled up outside her building at 6:55, driver already holding the door open. She should have turned around, gone back upstairs, blocked his number. Instead, she got in. The interior smelled like leather, and something expensive she couldn't name. The driver said nothing as they pulled into traffic, heading away from the restaurant district toward the waterfront. "Where are we going?" Rose asked, pulse quickening. "Mr. Palerma is waiting for you," the driver said simply. 20 minutes later, they stopped in front of a sleek high-rise that looked like it housed billionaires and international criminals, possibly both. The driver opened her door. "Top floor, they're expecting you." Rose stepped into a lobby that was all marble and cold lighting. 2 men in suits stood near the elevators, not security guards, something else. They nodded as she approached, one pressing the button marked PH. The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, they revealed a private hallway with a single door at the end. It was already open. Gerardino stood in the doorway, backlit by floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the city skyline. He'd changed. Dark slacks, white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, exposing the tattoos that covered his forearms. He looked devastatingly comfortable. "You said restaurant," Rose said, stopping just outside the threshold. "I said dinner," Gerardino corrected. "Come in, Rose." She shouldn't. Every instinct screamed at her to leave. She walked in anyway. The penthouse was stunning. Modern art on exposed brick walls, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her car, a kitchen island where 2 wine glasses already sat waiting, and those windows, God, those windows, overlooking the entire city like he owned it. Maybe he did. "There are armed guards downstairs," Rose said, turning to face him. "Yes," Gerardino said, closing the door, not locking it, just closing it. "Why?" "Because I have enemies." He moved to the kitchen, pouring wine with practiced ease, "and I preferred they stay enemies instead of becoming problems." Rose crossed her arms. "What do you do, Gerardino?" He handed her a glass, his fingers brushing her as briefly. "I run an organization. We handle sensitive business." "You mean illegal business?" His eyes held hers, steady and unflinching. "I mean necessary business." "That's not an answer," Rose pressed. "It's the only one I can give you right now." He gestured toward the windows.
The city runs on systems most people don't see. I manage some of those systems." "Manage," Rose repeated, tasting the word. "That's corporate speak for something darker." Gerardino's mouth curved slightly. "You are smarter than you pretended to be last night. And you're more dangerous than you're pretending to be right now." "I'm not pretending anything," he said quietly, stepping closer, not crowding her, just closing the distance. "I told you, we're here so you can ask questions. So ask." Rose's heart hammered. She should be terrified, should run. Instead, she asked, "Why me?" Gerardino's eyes darkened. "Because you walked up to me without fear. Because you kissed me like it meant nothing and everything at once. Because—" He stopped, jaw tightening. "Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about it." The air between them charged, heavy with something Rose couldn't name. "I'm not afraid of you," she said softly. "You should be," Gerardino murmured, reaching up slowly, giving her time to pull away. His tattooed hand cupped her jaw, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "I'm not a good man, Rose." "I didn't ask you to be," she whispered. He kissed her then, slow, deliberate, devastating, not demanding, exploring. His other hand settled at her waist, firm but controlled. Rose's wineglass slipped from her fingers onto the couch as she gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, hunger building beneath the careful control. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Gerardino's forehead rested against hers. "If you keep seeing me," he said quietly, "your life will change. It won't always be safe. There will be nights I can't explain where I've been. People who watch you because they want to know my weaknesses." Rose's pulse raced. "Are you trying to scare me off?" "I'm trying to be honest." His thumb traced her jaw. "Because once we start this, I won't want to stop." Rose met his eyes, dark, intense, dangerous. She should say no, should leave while she still could. "I don't scare easily," she said instead. Gerardino's grip tightened slightly, his voice dropping to a rough whisper that sent shivers down her spine. "You should." But he kissed her anyway, like he'd already decided she was worth the risk. And Rose kissed him back, knowing she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross.
Rose spent 3 days going down a rabbit hole that had no bottom. She started with public records, property holdings, business licenses, charity donations. Gerardino Palerma's name appeared in dozens of places, always legitimate, always vague. Import-export, real estate development, private equity. The kind of businesses that could mean anything or nothing. Then she found the older articles. His father, Santo Palerma, killed in a robbery gone wrong 9 years ago. No arrests, no suspects. The case went cold within weeks. 3 months later, Gerardino took over the family business. He was 25. Rose clicked deeper. Forum posts, conspiracy blogs, Reddit threads that got deleted fast. Whispers about the Palerma family's real business, connections to dock workers, union disputes that ended violently, rival families with names that sounded like they belonged in movies, Volkov, Castellano, Marino. Her phone buzzed. Sienna's name flashed across the screen. "Sienna, we need to talk now." 20 minutes later, Rose sat in Luna's art studio while her 2 best friends stared at her like she'd lost her mind. "This man is dangerous," Sienna said, phone thrust forward, showing the same articles Rose had already memorized. "His father is connected to organized crime. His father was murdered. Rose, you need to stop." "I know who he is," Rose said quietly. Luna leaned forward, voice softer. "Then why are you still seeing him?" "Because he's been nothing but honest with me," Rose said. "He hasn't lied, hasn't pretended to be something he's not." "That's what makes him more dangerous," Luna said, eyes serious. "He's telling you the truth because he knows you'll stay anyway." Rose's chest tightened. "Maybe I want to stay." Sienna grabbed her hand.
Rose, please, this isn't some romance novel. These people hurt people. They kill people. Rose's phone buzzed before she could respond. Gerardino's name lit up the screen. Gerardino, I'd like to show you something. My estate. Tomorrow, if you're ready. Rose stared at the message, pulse racing. Don't, Sienna whispered, reading over her shoulder. Rose typed back, what time? The estate sat 40 minutes outside the city, hidden behind gates and trees that blocked it from the road. The car passed 2 security checkpoints before the house came into view. Modern, sprawling, beautiful in a cold way. Gerardino waited on the steps, jeans and a dark Henley that showed the tattoos creeping up his neck. He looked less guarded here, more real. You came, he said as she stepped out. You asked, Rose replied. He showed her inside, all clean lines and expensive silence, but Rose noticed the details, cameras in every corner, guards stationed at intervals, a room she glimpsed through an open door filled with monitors showing every angle of the property. You live in a fortress, she said. I live in reality, Gerardino corrected. He guided her to a sitting room with windows overlooking the grounds. I told you my world isn't safe. This is what safety looks like for me. Rose turned to face him. Show me. Something shifted in his expression. He rolled up his sleeve slowly, exposing the full canvas of ink covering his arms. He pointed to a lion on his right forearm. My father, Santo, killed when I was 25. His finger moved to a date in Roman numerals. The day I became head of the family. Another tattoo, a broken crown. The man who ordered the hit. I found him 6 months later. A rosary around his wrist. My mother's. She died when I was 17. Each tattoo was a scar made visible, a map of violence and loss. You were just a kid, Rose whispered. I was never a kid, Gerardino said quietly. My father raised me for this. When he died, I had 2 choices, take control or watch everything fall apart. People depending on us, families who needed protection, territories that would have been swallowed by worse men. Rose's chest tightened. Do you want out? Gerardino looked at her for a long moment, something raw flickering across his face. I don't know if I can get out. This life doesn't let go easily. People I care about become targets. Weakness gets exploited. Walking away means leaving people unprotected. Or it means trusting someone else to protect them, Rose said. I've never been good at trust. I noticed. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken things. Rose took a breath, knowing what she was about to say would change everything. I know what you are. I know what you do. My friends think I'm insane for being here. They're not wrong, Gerardino said. Maybe not, Rose agreed. But I'm not leaving, not yet. So if you're trying to figure out how to get out, or how to change things, or how to be something different, she stepped closer, holding his gaze. Then I'll stay while you figure it out. Gerardino's jaw tightened. Rose, she interrupted, I'm not asking for promises. I'm just saying I'm here, for now, if you want me to be. He reached for her then, pulling her close, his tattooed hands framing her face like she was something precious and breakable. I want you to be, he whispered against her lips. God help us both, but I do. When he kissed her, it tasted like a vow neither of them was ready to make, but they were making it anyway.
Gerardino told her 3 days before the meeting, his voice careful in a way that made Rose's stomach drop. There's something I need to do, he said, sitting across from her at the penthouse. Morning light cut through the windows, making his tattoos look darker against his skin. A family meeting. I'm going to tell them about you. Rose set down her coffee. Tell them what, exactly? That you're under my protection, that you matter to me. His eyes held hers, serious. It means you're protected, Rose. No one in my world touches you. But it also means you're visible. People will know your name. They'll watch you. Some will see you as leverage. Rose's pulse spiked. You're painting a target on me. I'm claiming you publicly, Gerardino corrected. It's the only way to keep you safe. If they think you're just some woman I'm sleeping with, you're vulnerable. But if they know you're mine, truly mine, then hurting you means going through me. Most won't risk that. Most, Rose repeated. No system is perfect. He reached across the table, taking her hand. I won't do this without your consent. If you want out, tell me now. I'll make sure you're protected from a distance. You'll never see me again. Rose stared at their joined hands, his covered in ink and scars, hers unmarked and shaking slightly. She should say yes, should take the out he was offering. Do it, she whispered instead. Tell them. Gerardino's fingers tightened around hers. You're sure? No, Rose admitted, but I trust you, so do it. The meeting was held at a restaurant Gerardino owned, closed to the public for the afternoon. Rose waited at the penthouse, pacing the length of the windows, checking her phone every 30 seconds, even though he'd told her it would take hours. Sienna had called twice. Rose ignored both. At the restaurant, Gerardino sat at the head of a long table surrounded by men who'd served his father and now served him. Matteo Santori, his second-in-command, sat to his right, sharp-eyed and skeptical. Various capos and enforcers filled the other seats, faces ranging from curious to concerned. There's someone in my life, Gerardino said without preamble. Her name is Rose Farrell. As of today, she's under my protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me directly. Silence fell over the table. Matteo's jaw tightened. A younger capo named Luca exchanged glances with the man beside him. An older enforcer, Dante, simply nodded like he'd expected this. With respect, boss, Matteo said carefully. Bringing a civilian into our world, making her visible, that's a risk. It's a fact, Gerardino corrected. I'm not asking permission, I'm informing you. Does she know what we do? Luca asked. She knows enough. Does she understand what this means? Dante's voice was gravelly. Once you claim her, every enemy you have will know her name. Which is why I'm claiming her, so every enemy knows that touching her means war. No negotiations, no mercy, war. More silence. Then Matteo leaned forward. And if someone tests that? Gerardino's eyes went cold. Then they learn why no one tests me twice. Dante nodded slowly, a hint of approval in his expression. She must be special. She is, Gerardino said simply. Luca still looked uncertain. Boss, if she becomes a liability... She won't, Gerardino cut him off. Are we clear, all of you? One by one they nodded, some reluctant, some resigned, but all obedient. After the meeting officially ended, Matteo pulled Gerardino aside near the bar. You're making yourself vulnerable, he said quietly. Love is a weakness in our world, you know that. I'm making a choice, Gerardino replied. A choice that could get you killed. Or a choice that gives me something worth living for. Gerardino met his old friend's eyes. I've spent 9 years building this empire on my father's blood. Maybe it's time I built something on my own terms. Matteo studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Just don't let it make you soft. We still have enemies who'd love to see you weak. I won't be weak. I'll be motivated. When Gerardino returned to the penthouse hours later, Rose was standing by the windows, arms wrapped around herself. She turned when she heard the door, eyes searching his face. It's done, he said quietly. Rose's breath shuddered out. And? Gerardino crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. She fit against him perfectly, her head tucking under his chin. You're mine now, he murmured into her hair, and I'm yours. Everyone knows it. There's no going back from this. Rose's hands fisted in his shirt, holding tight. I don't want to go back. He pulled back just enough to cup her face, tilting it up so she met his eyes.
Then we go forward, together, whatever comes. Whatever comes, Rose echoed. When he kissed her, it tasted like a promise neither of them fully understood yet, but they'd made it anyway, in front of witnesses who'd make sure the whole city knew. Rose Farrell belonged to Gerardino Palerma now, and he belonged to her.
The black sedan appeared 3 days after the meeting. Same car, different drivers, always 2 cars back. Rose noticed it on her way to her favorite coffee shop, then again leaving her yoga class, then parked across from her building at midnight. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. He can't protect you forever. Rose's hands shook as she screenshot it and sent it to Gerardino. He was at her door within 20 minutes. "Pack a bag," he said, voice tight. "You're staying at the penthouse until we figure out who this is." "Gerardino!" "Now, Rose." 2 bodyguards appeared in her hallway the next morning. Marcus and Luca, both silent, both armed, both shadowing her everywhere. Coffee shop, grocery store, the lobby of her building when she went down to check mail. A week later, Rose snapped. "I can't live like this," she said, pacing the penthouse while Gerardino watched from the couch. "I have 2 armed men following me to buy tampons. My friends are scared to meet me for lunch. I'm a prisoner." "You're alive," Gerardino said quietly. "That's what matters." "This isn't living." "You can't live at all if they get to you." His voice hardened. "You think I like this? You think I want you caged? But someone is watching you, threatening you, and I will not take chances with your life." "So you take away my freedom instead?" Rose's eyes burned. "You said claiming me meant protection. It feels like ownership." Gerardino stood, jaw tight. "I'm trying to keep you safe. By controlling everything I do. By keeping you breathing," he shot back. "You wanted this world, Rose. You said you'd stay. Well, this is what staying looks like." The words hung between them like shattered glass. Rose's voice dropped. "Maybe I made a mistake." Something flickered across Gerardino's face, pain quickly buried. "Then leave. I'll assign protection from a distance. You'll never see me again." "That's not what I—" Rose stopped, tears threatening. "I just want to feel like myself." Gerardino exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. "I don't know how to do this, how to love someone and not destroy everything to protect them." Rose stilled. "You love me?" His eyes met hers. "Yes, God help us both, but yes." The fight didn't end cleanly. It just faded into exhausted silence and careful distance. The next day, Gerardino called Matteo into his office. "I'm delegating the shipping operations and the knock negotiations. I want you handling anything that requires direct action." Matteo's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I need to focus on legitimate transitions, the real estate, the investments." "The girl," Matteo interrupted. "You're getting soft. It'll get you killed, Gerardino." "I'm making strategic choices. You're making emotional ones." Matteo leaned forward. "The men are noticing. They're starting to wonder if you still have the stomach for this." "Then let them wonder," Gerardino said coldly. "Are you questioning me?" Matteo held his gaze, then shook his head. "No, boss. I'm warning you." The charity gala was supposed to be safe, neutral territory where the city's elite pretended their money was clean. Rose wore a black dress that made her feel armored. Gerardino stayed close, his hand steady at the small of her back. Then she saw him across the room. Victor Volkov was tall, blonde, handsome in a way that felt calculated. His smile was charming, his eyes were dead. He approached with champagne in hand, flanked by men who mirrored Gerardino's guards. "Palerma," Victor said smoothly, accent thick but polished. "And this must be the famous Rose Farrell."
Gerardino's hand tightened at her waist. Volkov. Victor's smile widened. I've heard so much about you, Miss Farrell, the woman who changed Gerardino Palerma. He stepped closer, ignoring Gerardino's warning look. Tell me, is it true? Is he really pulling back from operations, delegating his responsibilities? That's not your concern, Gerardino said, voice low with threat. Oh, but it is. Victor's eyes stayed on Rose. You see, Miss Farrell, in our world change is dangerous. It makes people weak, distracted. He tilted his head. He's changing for you. That makes him vulnerable. Rose met his gaze steadily, despite her racing heart. Or it makes him smart enough to evolve. Victor laughed, genuinely amused. Brave and beautiful. I see the appeal. He turned to Gerardino. But bravery won't protect her when you're too soft to do what's necessary. Leave, Gerardino said, each word sharp as a blade. Now. Victor raised his champagne in mock salute. Enjoy your evening, both of you. His smile turned cold. While you still can. He walked away, leaving tension thick in the air. Rose's hands trembled. That was, Gerardino finished, a threat, clear and direct. He guided her toward the exit, guards closing in around them. We're leaving, now. In the car, Rose stared out the window while her pulse slowly settled. He's going to come after me, isn't he? Gerardino's jaw was granite. He's going to try. And then what? His hand found hers in the dark. Then I show him exactly how weak I'm not.
Rose wanted 1 hour of normal. 1 hour without bodyguards hovering, without looking over her shoulder, without feeling like prey. So when Marcus stepped away to take a call, she slipped out the back exit of the cafe. 60 seconds of freedom. That's all she got. The hand clamped over her mouth from behind, yanking her toward a black van idling at the curb. She tried to scream, tried to fight, but there were 2 of them, big, efficient, professional. Then gunfire cracked through the air. Marcus appeared from nowhere, weapon drawn, shouting into his comm. The man holding Rose jerked, blood spraying. She fell hard to the pavement as chaos erupted around her. More shots, screaming, tires screeching. Rose curled into herself, hands over her head, pulse hammering so loud she couldn't hear anything else. Until she heard his voice. Rose! Gerardino was there, hauling her up, hands frantically checking her for injuries. His eyes were wild, terrifying in their intensity. Are you hurt? Rose, look at me. Are you hurt? No, He shoved her toward Marcus. Get her to the car, now! Then he turned toward the 2 men still breathing, one on the ground clutching his leg, the other pinned against the van by Luca. Rose watched, frozen, as Gerardino walked toward them. His movements were controlled, predatory. He crouched beside the injured man, grabbing him by the collar. Who sent you? His voice was ice and fury. The man spat blood. Fuck you! Gerardino's fist connected with his jaw, once, twice. The sound of bone cracking made Rose's stomach turn. Who sent you? Boss, Luca warned, eyes scanning the street. We need to move. Gerardino stood, pulling his gun in one fluid motion. He pressed it to the man's temple. Last chance. Volkov sent us. Gerardino's finger tightened on the trigger. Gerardino, don't! Rose's voice cracked through the moment. He froze, jaw clenched, every muscle coiled with violence. Then he lowered the gun and slammed the butt against the man's skull, knocking him unconscious. Get them out of here, he told Luca. I want answers before they disappear. The drive back to the penthouse was silent except for Rose's ragged breathing. Gerardino's knuckles were split, blood drying on his shirt. He stared straight ahead, jaw locked tight. Inside, Rose collapsed onto the couch, adrenaline crash hitting her like a freight train. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Gerardino poured whiskey, downed it in one swallow, then poured another. I saw what you're capable of, Rose said quietly.
He didn't turn around. "I told you to be afraid." "I'm not afraid of you," her voice broke. "I'm afraid for you. That world, that violence, it's going to swallow you whole, Gerardino. And I can't—" Tears spilled over. "I can't watch it destroy you." Gerardino set down the glass and turned, something raw and broken in his expression. Blood still stained his hands. His shirt was torn. He looked like exactly what he was, a man who'd grown up in violence and couldn't escape it. "This is who I am," he said hoarsely. "I beat men for information. I kill when necessary. I've done things that would make you run if you knew the details." Rose stood, crossing to him. "Then tell me, all of it, no more hiding." "Rose, tell me," she demanded, voice fierce despite the tears, "or let me go, but don't stand there and pretend you're protecting me by keeping me in the dark." Gerardino stared at her, chest heaving. Then he told her everything. The men he'd killed, the territories he'd taken by force, the bribes, the threats, the bodies that disappeared in the night. He laid it all bare, voice flat and dead, waiting for her to recoil. She didn't. Instead, she reached up and cupped his bloodied face. "I'm not leaving." "You should." "I'm not." Her thumb brushed his cheekbone. "I see you, Gerardino, all of you, and I'm still here." Something broke in him then. He pulled her close, kissing her desperately like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Rose kissed him back with equal ferocity, tasting blood and whiskey and fear. They made love on the couch, desperate, intense, clinging to each other like the world was ending. His hands shook as they undressed her. Her nails dug into his shoulders hard enough to leave marks. It wasn't gentle, it was survival. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Rose's head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slowly settle. "I'll burn the world down before I lose you," Gerardino whispered into her hair, voice raw and certain. "Every enemy, every threat, I'll destroy them all." Rose tilted her head up to meet his eyes. "Then don't lose yourself in the process, because if you become the monster you're fighting against, then Volkov wins anyway." Gerardino's arms tightened around her. "I don't know how to do both, protect you and stay human." "Then we figure it out together. No more hiding, no more lies. We face this together or not at all." He kissed her forehead, soft and reverent. "Together." Outside, the city hummed with danger and possibility. Viktor Volkov had made his move. Now Gerardino had to decide what he was willing to sacrifice to protect the one thing that made him feel human. And deep down, they both knew the answer would cost them everything.
Matteo arrived at dawn, face grim. Gerardino met him in the study while Rose slept upstairs, still recovering from the attack 2 days prior. "Victor's moving," Matteo said without preamble. "My sources say he's planning something big, a statement. He wants your territory, and he's willing to start a war to get it." Gerardino's jaw tightened. "When?" "Soon. Days, maybe a week." Matteo paused. "There's more. Some of our own people are questioning whether you still have what it takes. They see you pulling back, delegating, spending time with the girl. Rose," Gerardino corrected sharply. "Her name is Rose. They see you with Rose and they wonder if you've gone soft. Luca's been talking. A few of the younger guys are listening. If Victor moves and you hesitate, we could fracture from the inside." Gerardino's fists clenched. "Are they challenging me?" "Not yet," Matteo said carefully, "but they're close. You need to make a choice, Gerardino. War with Victor and prove you're still who you were, or step down before this destroys everything your father built." The words hung heavy in the air. Rose's friends cornered her at Luna's studio that afternoon. Both bodyguards waited outside, Gerardino's compromise after the attack. "This has to stop," Sienna said, voice breaking. "Rose, he's going to get you killed. That attack was just the beginning." Luna grabbed her hands. "We love you. We've watched you become someone we barely recognize. You're always looking over your shoulder. You have armed men following you everywhere, and now people are trying to kidnap you in broad daylight." "It's complicated," Rose started. "It's not," Sienna interrupted. "You leave or you die. Those are your options." Rose pulled her hands away. "You don't understand. He's trying to change. He's pulling back from the violent parts of his business." "Is he?" Luna's voice was gentle but firm. "Because from where we're standing, you're deeper in his world than ever." Rose had no answer. That night, she confronted Gerardino in the penthouse, both of them exhausted and raw. "I need to know, can you really leave this life? Not delegate, not pull back gradually, actually leave, walk away." Gerardino stared out at the city lights, shoulders tense. "If I leave, people who depend on me for protection lose that protection. Families who work for us, businesses under our umbrella, they become targets. Some will die. And if you stay?" He turned to face her. "You're in constant danger. Today it was an attempted kidnapping. Tomorrow it could be worse. I can't protect you from everything, Rose. Not in this world." "So we're trapped," Rose whispered. "Yes." Rose crossed to him, determination hardening her features. "Then we find a third option. We transition the empire, legitimize operations. You step back gradually but strategically, name successors, protect the people who need it, cut ties with the parts that put targets on our backs." Gerardino's eyes searched hers. "That takes time, months, maybe years, and Victor won't wait. Then we make him wait. Or we make him irrelevant, but we do it together. You don't carry this alone anymore." Something shifted in Gerardino's expression. Hope, fragile and dangerous. "You'd stay?" he asked. "Through all of it? I'm here, aren't I?" He pulled her close, forehead resting against hers. "Then we plan, fast." They spent 3 days locked in the study. Gerardino made calls to lawyers, accountants, loyal capos who'd follow him into legitimate business. He restructured deals, moved money, named Matteo as successor for the parts of the organization that couldn't be legitimized. Rose researched, strategized, helped him see angles he missed. They mapped out a 5-year transition, protection for key people, exit strategies. It felt possible. For the first time, freedom felt real. Then Gerardino's phone rang at 3 in the morning. He answered, listened, went pale. "What?" Rose asked, pulse spiking. Gerardino stood, already reaching for clothes. "Victor didn't wait. He's moving now." "What does that mean?" He looked at her, eyes dark with something like grief. "It means he's coming for you, and this time he won't fail." Rose's blood went cold. "How do you know?" "Because he just hit one of my warehouses, killed 3 of my men, and left a message." Gerardino's voice was deadly calm. "He said if I want to negotiate, I bring you, alone, tomorrow night at the docks." "That's a trap." "Of course it's a trap." He cupped her face. "Which is why you're not going anywhere near it." "Gerardino!" "I'll handle Victor. You stay here. Maximum security. Matteo will coordinate from the ground." Rose grabbed his wrist. "And if something happens to you?" His thumb brushed her cheek. "Then you run, far and fast. Matteo has instructions to get you out of the city. New ID, clean break." "No," Rose said fiercely. "We're in this together, remember?" "Not this part." Gerardino kissed her forehead. "This part, I do alone." But neither of them knew Victor had already made his next move, and by the time they realized, it would be too late. The ambush happened during the 30 seconds Rose stepped onto the penthouse balcony for air. They came from above, rappelling down from the roof with military precision. One grabbed her, hand clamping over her mouth. The other disabled the security camera. No alarms, no warnings, just darkness and the sting of a needle in her neck. Rose's last thought before unconsciousness took her was Gerardino's name. She woke to cold concrete and the smell of salt water. Her head throbbed, zip ties cut into her wrists. The warehouse was massive, abandoned, rusted machinery casting shadows in the dim light filtering through broken windows. Viktor Volkov sat across from her in a metal chair, looking like he was attending a business meeting, suit pressed, hair perfect, gun resting casually on his knee. Awake. Good. His accent was thicker now, less polished. We have time before your lover arrives. Rose's throat was dry. He won't come. Viktor laughed, genuinely amused. Oh, Malishka, he's already mobilizing. My sources say he's gathered every man he has. He'll come, and when he does, I'll kill him, slowly, while you watch. Why? Rose's voice cracked. What did he do to you? He exists, Viktor said simply. His territory blocks mine. His reputation threatens mine. And now he's weak, distracted, making plans to go legitimate like some businessman. He leaned forward. You did that. You made him soft, and soft men die in our world. Rose met his eyes. You're wrong. You didn't make him weak. You just gave him something worth fighting for. Viktor's smile turned cold. Then let's see how well he fights. At the penthouse, Gerardino stood in the security room watching the footage replay. 40 seconds. That's how long it took them to take Rose. His hands shook with rage. Boss, Matteo's voice was tight. Viktor sent coordinates. Warehouse district by the docks. He wants you there in 2 hours. Then we leave now. This is a trap, Matteo said firmly. He'll have 50 men, snipers, explosives. You walk in there, you die. Gerardino turned, eyes blazing. Then I die, but I'm getting her back. Gerardino! Mobilize everyone, every soldier, every gun, every favor we're owed. I don't care about the cost, I don't care about the risk. We're going to war. Matteo stared at him, then nodded slowly. All right, war it is. The assault began at dusk. Gerardino's men came from 3 directions, front, sides, roof. Gunfire erupted immediately. Viktor's forces were ready, entrenched, deadly. Gerardino moved through the chaos like a force of nature. Bullets whizzed past. Men fell around him. He took a round to the shoulder, barely flinched, kept advancing. Rose! His voice echoed through the warehouse. Inside, Rose heard him, heard the gunfire, the shouting, the violence. Viktor stood, dragging her up by her arm. Time to use you. He pressed a gun to her temple just as Gerardino crashed through the side door, weapon raised, flanked by Luca and 2 others. Everyone froze. Drop it, Palerma, Viktor said calmly, or I paint the walls with her brain. Gerardino's eyes met Rose's. Blood soaked his shirt. His face was a mask of controlled fury. Let her go, Gerardino said, voice deadly quiet. This is between us. No, Viktor's finger tightened on the trigger. This is about teaching you that love is weakness, that sentiment kills. You're right, Gerardino said. Then he dropped his gun. Viktor's eyes widened in surprise. That second of distraction was all Gerardino needed. He moved, faster than someone bleeding should move. His hand caught Viktor's wrist, twisting the gun away. The shot went wide. Rose dropped, rolling away as the 2 men collided. The fight was brutal. Fists, elbows, raw violence. Viktor was skilled, trained, but Gerardino fought like a man with everything to lose. He slammed Viktor against rusted machinery. Once, twice, Viktor's nose shattered, blood spraying. Viktor grabbed a piece of metal, swung wild. It connected with Gerardino's ribs. He grunted, stumbled, then surged forward again. His hands found Viktor's throat. He squeezed. You threatened her. You touched her. You die. Viktor clawed at his hands, gasping, eyes bulging. Gerardino didn't let go. Viktor's struggles weakened, then stopped. Gerardino held on for 10 more seconds, making sure. Then he released, letting the body drop.
He turned, finding Rose. She ran to him, and he caught her, wrapping his arms around her, despite the bullets in his body, the blood, the pain. "I've got you," he rasped into her hair. "I've got you." Sirens wailed in the distance. Mateo appeared, face grim. "We need to move, now. Cops are 2 minutes out." They ran, Gerardino leaning heavily on Rose and Luca, leaving bodies and chaos behind. The cost was devastating. 7 of Gerardino's men dead, alliances shattered, territory vulnerable, but Rose was alive. In the car, speeding away from the docks, Rose pressed her hands against Gerardino's wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. "Stay with me," she begged. "Gerardino, stay with me." His hand found hers, bloody and weak. "Always," he whispered. Then his eyes closed, and Rose screamed for the driver to go faster.
Gerardino survived. 3 bullets removed, 2 broken ribs, blood loss that should have killed him. But he survived. And while he lay in that hospital bed, private facility, off the books, doctors who asked no questions, he made his decision. The meeting happened 2 weeks later in the same restaurant where he'd first claimed Rose publicly. Mateo sat to his right. The remaining capos and enforcers filled the other seats, faces wary, curious. "I'm stepping down as active boss," Gerardino said without preamble. "Effective immediately, Mateo Santori takes operational control of the organization." Silence. Then chaos, voices overlapping, questions shouting. Gerardino raised one hand. They fell silent. "I'll maintain advisory control. I'll guide transitions, protect our interests, ensure stability. But the day-to-day operations, the territory disputes, the necessary violence, that's Mateo's now." He looked at each man. "I'm transitioning my focus to legitimate businesses, real estate, investments, legal enterprises. Anyone who wants to follow that path, I'll help you. Anyone who stays with traditional operations answers to Mateo." "You're abandoning us," Luca said, voice bitter. "I'm giving you a choice," Gerardino corrected. "Stay in this life with strong leadership or build something different. But I'm done pretending I can do both." Mateo stood. "He's earned this. He bled for this family. If he wants out, he gets out. Anyone who has a problem with that answers to me." The room held its breath. Then Dante, the oldest enforcer, nodded slowly. "You've been a good boss, Gerardino, better than your father in some ways. If this is what you want, you have my respect." One by one, they nodded, some reluctant, some relieved. The organization didn't shatter, it evolved. The villa sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, 2 hours from the city. High walls, security cameras, but also gardens, open windows, peace. Rose stood on the terrace at sunrise, coffee in hand, watching waves crash against rocks below. She wore one of Gerardino's shirts, hair loose, feet bare. Arms wrapped around her from behind. Gerardino rested his chin on her shoulder, still warm from bed. "Can't sleep?" she murmured. "Didn't want to miss this," he replied. They'd been here 3 months. 3 months of healing, physical and emotional. 3 months of learning what normal felt like. Rose's blog had exploded after she'd posted honestly about surviving trauma, about choosing love despite danger. Brands wanted to work with her. Her following doubled. Gerardino quietly invested in tech startups, green energy, affordable housing. Money still flowed, but now it was clean. They traveled. Paris, Tokyo, small coastal towns where no one knew their names. They cooked together, argued about movies, made love slowly instead of desperately. They built routines that felt like a life instead of survival. One evening, as the sun painted the sky orange and gold, Gerardino led Rose to the terrace. Candles flickered on the table. Wine waited, untouched. He looked nervous, actually nervous. "Rose," he started, voice rougher than usual. She tilted her head, curious. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." He took her hands. "Everything's right. For the first time in my life, everything's right." He paused, gathering words. "You kissed a monster in a nightclub and somehow saw a man underneath. You stayed when you should have run. You loved me when I didn't deserve it." Rose's throat tightened. "Gerardino!" He dropped to one knee. Rose's breath caught, tears already burning. From his pocket, he pulled a ring, simple, elegant, with a stone that caught the dying light. This was my mother's, the only thing my father gave her that wasn't tainted by his world. His eyes held hers, dark and certain. Marry me, Rose. Let me spend the rest of my life proving you were right to stay. Let me build something beautiful with you instead of something brutal. Rose's tears spilled over. Yes, she whispered. God, yes. He slid the ring on her finger, then stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her like they had all the time in the world. Because finally, they did.
The wedding was small. Sienna and Luna, Matteo and the handful of loyal friends. No spectacle, no performance, just vows spoken honestly under string lights in the villa's garden. When Gerardino kissed his bride, Matteo whistled. Luna cried. Sienna raised her glass and shouted, "To the craziest love story I've ever seen." They all drank to that. Later, after the guests left, Rose and Gerardino stood on their terrace overlooking the distant city lights. His tattooed hand held hers, rings catching moonlight. "You know what Sienna told me?" Rose said, leaning into him. "She said I lost that bet on purpose." Gerardino's mouth curved. "Did you?" Rose looked up at him, eyes bright. "Maybe I just recognized something worth winning." He kissed her forehead. "Best bet you ever lost." Rose smiled against his chest. "Best prize I ever won." They stood there as the sun finally set completely, the city below them humming with life. Somewhere down there, Gerardino Palerma's old world continued without him, dangerous, violent, necessary. But here on this cliff with this woman, he'd found something he'd never thought possible. Peace, love, home. Rose tilted her face up for a kiss. Gerardino obliged, slow and sure and full of promise. And for the first time in his life, the future didn't taste like blood. It tasted like freedom.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now. It keeps these Mafia legends alive. Like, comment, and I'll see you in the next upload.